Chapter 6. The First Two Finders. The very next day, the first golden ticket was found. The boy was called Augustus Gloop, and Mr. Bucket's evening newspaper carried a large picture of him on the front page. The picture showed a 9-year-old boy who was so enormously fat he looked as though he had been blown up with a powerful pump. Great flabby folds of fat bulged out of every part of his body, and his face was like a monstrous ball of dough, with two small, greedy, curranty eyes peeping out upon the world. The town in which Augustus Gloop lived, the newspaper said, had gone wild with excitement over their hero. Flags were flying from all the windows. Children had been given a holiday from school, and a parade was being organised in honour of the famous youth. "I just knew Augustus would find a golden ticket," his mother had told the newspaper man. "He ate so many bars of chocolate a day that it is almost impossible for him not to find one. Eating is his hobby, you know. That's all he's interested in. But still, that's better than being a hooligan and shooting off zip guns and things like that in his spare time, isn't it? And what I always say is he wouldn't go on eating like he does unless he needed nourishment, would he? It's all vitamins anyway. What a thrill it will be for him to visit Mr. Wonka's marvellous factory. We're just as proud as anything." "What a revolting woman," said Grandma Josephine. "And what a repulsive boy," said Grandma Georgina. "Only 4 golden tickets left," said Grandpa George. "I wonder who'll get those." And now the whole country, indeed, the whole world, seemed suddenly to be caught up in a mad chocolate-buying spree, everybody searching frantically for those precious remaining tickets. Fully grown women were seen going into sweet shops and buying 10 Wonka bars at a time, then tearing off the wrappers on the spot and peering eagerly underneath for a glint of the golden paper. Children were taking hammers and smashing their piggy banks and running out to the shops with handfuls of money. In one city, a famous gangster robbed a bank of £1,000 and spent the lot on Wonka bars that same afternoon. And when the police entered his house to arrest him, they found him sitting on the floor amidst mountains of chocolate, ripping off the wrappers with the blade of a long dagger. In far-off Russia, a woman called Charlotte Roos claimed to have found a second ticket, but it turned out to be a clever fake. The famous English scientist, Professor Foulbody, invented a machine which would tell you at once, without opening the wrapper of a bar of chocolate, whether or not there was a golden ticket hidden underneath. The machine had a mechanical arm that shot out with tremendous force and grabbed hold of anything that had the slightest bit of gold inside it. But for a moment it looked like the answer to everything. But unfortunately, while the professor was showing off the machine to the public at the sweet counter of a large department store, the mechanical arm shot out and made a grab for the gold filling in the back tooth of a duchess who was standing nearby. There was an ugly scene, and the machine was smashed by the crowd. Suddenly, on the day before Charlie Bucket's birthday, the newspapers announced that the second golden ticket had been found. The lucky person was a small girl called Veruca Salt, who lived with her rich parents in a great city far away. Once again, Mr. Bucket's evening newspapers carried a big picture of the finder. She was sitting between her beaming father and mother in the living room of their house, waving the golden tickets above her head and grinning from ear to ear. Veruca's father, Mr. Salt, had eagerly explained to the newspaper man exactly how the ticket was found. "You see, boys," he had said, "as soon as my little girl told me that she simply had to have one of those golden tickets, I went out into town and started buying all the Wonka bars I could lay my hands on, thousands of them. I must have bought hundreds of thousands. Then I had them loaded onto the trucks and sent directly to my factory. I'm in the peanut business, you see, And I've got about 100 women working for me over at my place, shelling peanuts for roasting and salting. That's what they do all day long, these women. They sit there shelling peanuts. So I says to them, "Okay, girls," I says, "from now on, you can stop shelling peanuts and start shelling the wrappers off these chocolate bars instead." And they did. I had every worker in that place yanking the paper off those chocolate bars full speed ahead from morning till night. But 3 days went by and we had no luck. It was terrible. My little Veruca got more and more upset each day, and every time I went home she would scream at me, "Where's my golden ticket? I want my golden ticket!" And she would lie for hours on the floor, kicking and yelling in the most disturbing way. Well, I hated seeing my little girl feeling unhappy like that, so I vowed I would keep up my search until I got her what she wanted. And suddenly, on the evening of the 4th day, one of my women workers yelled, "I've got it, a golden ticket!" And I said, "Give it to me quick," and she did. And I rushed it home and gave it to my darling Veruca. And now she's all smiles and we have a happy home once again. That's even worse than the fat boy, said Grandma Josephine. She needs a really good spanking, said Grandma Georgina. "I don't think the girl's father played it quite fair, Grandpa, do you?" Charlie murmured. "He spoils her," Grandpa Joe said. "No good ever comes from spoiling a child like that, Charlie. You mark my words." "Come to bed, my darling," said Charlie's mother. "Tomorrow's your birthday, don't forget that. So I expect you'll be up early to open your present." "A Wonka chocolate bar?" cried Charlie. "Is it a Wonka chocolate bar, isn't it?" "Yes, my love," his mother said. "Of course it is." "Oh, wouldn't it be wonderful if I found the 3rd golden ticket inside it?" Charlie said. "Bring it in here when you get it," Grandpa Joe said. "Then we can all watch you taking off the wrapper."